Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Bonjour, proverbet, hola, ciao, and guten tag to my foreign friends. Today I wanted to talk about a gentleman's knife. What is that? We kind of have an idea what that is, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of a gentleman's knife, and then a little bit more of what a gentleman's knife would look like. And so, when you look at these knives right here, um, this is actually kind of an elegant looking knife here, but it's also a rough and tumble knife, not really meant to be a gentleman's knife. Rough bone, it's burnt. It has its own appeal, but it's not really a gentleman's knife. This is a very slick knife here, equal end design, pockets easily. You have a genuine jig bone here with a gimp shield, kind of symmetrical, kind of perfect to carry, but it also has kind of a rugged look to it. You see the same thing in this knife. It's a bigger knife. This it has a kind of like an expensive appeal to it, but it's really more kind of rough and rugged. And what do you think when you look at knives like this? I think one of the reasons that bone is so popular, it harkens us back to that primeval age. Here's a modern folder that's kind of slim and symmetrical, um, but I don't really believe this is a gentleman's knife. And I think you have rough edges here. It looks more tactical than anything. And a lot of gentlemen's knives are slim designs, and this is another. This is a switchblade here. You've got this aggressive looking piranha, and even though you have some nice smooth lines here, um, in the blade, I don't think it's too outrageous. It's really not a gentleman's knife. And you look at this one right here. Um, it has kind of an appearance of a gentleman's knife, but you have sharp edges here and you have this sharp point, which kind of makes it aggressive, and it just looks more tactical than elegant. But that's not to say a switchblade can't be elegant. Like Protex Godson is very elegant, and it doesn't have to be a small knife either. I think this knife here from Benchmade is very elegant, and this is, I think, a gentleman's folder. It doesn't appear to be aggressive at all, except for this little point right here, but it has a very refined look to it, and the blade, even though it's large, it doesn't appear to be too aggressive. It's just a good looking, symmetrical uh, knife. And so that's kind of what a gentleman's knife is. If you look at this knife right here, it's very simplistic, very smooth. And so with simplicity, you get elegance. You have a very understated, this isn't obtrusive or out in your face or crazy. It's a simple blue on titanium background, and nice, sleek lines. And I think that you could classify this as a gentleman's knife right here. And that's kind of the key. And simplicity and elegance. And if you look at gentlemen's knives, a lot of them are that way. This is one from the 1860s. It's plated in gold, green and yellow gold. Very, very elegant, and has some very simplistic geometric designs to it. This one right here is a little more detailed. Let's see if I can get that in. You see on the sides there. but it has an elegance and a nature that kind of speaks of money. And the word gentleman actually was applied in the um, couple hundred years ago, maybe 300 years ago. And when you talked about a gentleman, usually that was somebody of prominence. And so gentlemen were lawyers. They were usually affluent. They had money, landowners, um, people in positions of power like the governor or a director of some municipality. And obviously kings, queens, and sirs, and that kind of thing. And if they messed with this simplistic design at all, it was in a very calculated way. So you have um, a geometric design here that just is kind of busy, but it's also kind of elegant. And this is a Brockman knife here. And I mean, just looking at this knife, it's like a kind of knife a lawyer would carry, right? It's a little pen knife, lobster pattern. Beautiful knife, by the way, and very well done. This is a Bowerman, not a Brockman. Sorry about that. But you can see the elegance of that knife. And that's the hallmark of a gentleman's knife. And usually people of I don't want to put it, people in upper positions uh, tended to be calmer, um, thoughtful, and more gentle, and that's why they were called gentlemen. How they might handle a situation might be different than how you or I might handle a situation. And so that's how that name got to be applied to knives, because they carried understated knives, simplistic. Here's a folder, just stainless steel, smooth, round lines. That is a gentleman's knife. Compared to something, like this, that's not very gentlemanly. Here's one, it has a ebony inlay in it. So it's not that wood could not be elegant in and of itself. You have an ebony inlay, and you have a nice little border on this. It's actually an aluminum border on this knife, but it's very attractive. This is a Robertson right here. So when you look at this knife, it's a pen knife, and I think it's elegant, um, but it doesn't have the same appeal as this knife right here. And so this would be more of a gentleman's knife. This is a penknife in horn, but even the shield, it's a simple geometric shield, a round bar shield on this knife, highly polished, and it just looks much cleaner. And that's the difference in gentlemen's knives. Oftentimes, they had pearl. Mother of pearl was a favorite, and mother of pearl's kind of flashy but it's also kind of subdued. It has a subtle beauty to it. So these, I think, would be perfect gentleman knives. Um, this knife right here, this Wolstinghome, is bone, and so I've seen some really nice Bokers that were polished bone, white polished bone, and Boker does that quite a bit too in their gentleman offerings, and it just changes the whole look of a knife. And so this is a little bigger knife. It's a whittler, but it's still very gentlemanly. And even on a knife like this, you have a different colored bone here. It's like gun stock, but I'd say this is not your typical gentleman knife, but it's very elegant, smooth, pretty, and, could be considered a gentleman's knife. This modern folder here, you have scalloped titanium blue scales on this knife with some anodization. It's a pretty knife, but and some people may consider that because it's pretty as a gentleman's knife. But I think this is a little too. I think it's a little too aggressive. The design of this knife to be considered a gentleman's knife. Although I'm sure some would consider it to be a gentleman's knife. A knife like this, it's bigger. There's 6 blades, but you have black lip mother of pearl, smooth, shiny bolsters there. That's more like a gentleman's knife. So, kind of on the margin, a knife like this by GEC, I think a lot of guys could consider that a gentleman's knife. It's an understated elegance. The jigging is not really crazy on this knife, I don't think. I think it's very symmetrical, very good looking. So this is, kind of borderline gentleman knife, I'd say. I don't think jigging necessarily uh, keeps a knife from being a gentleman knife. You have a nice celluloid handle there, and it's attractive. It's a little crazier, right? It's a little crazier than just standard, but it's still an understated knife and could be considered a gentleman's knife. I think that's borderline right there. Um, Again, wood. Even though this is wood, it has a very aesthetic appeal to it. It's an elegant, simple looking knife, and with a very attractive wood in it. And this is upper scale wood, so this is not your average wood, and something maybe a gentleman might carry. This is a Boker Whittler, and here you have Coca-Cola wood, and I think you have to admit this is a pretty attractive little knife. So this is a Whittler, Serpentine Whittler, or Warrenclyffe Whittler, and a nice gold shield on here. It's kind of attractive, and I think that could be considered a gentleman's knife. Same thing with this knife. This is a Winchester knife. Simple, elegant, understated wood. Um, I think you can consider that a gentleman's knife. Here's a knife that has jigging, but you have this nice symmetrical bar shield here, and there's a border that goes around this. See that border? Goes around the black, which highlights the black. And I think this would be a borderline gentleman's knife. I think this knife was meant to appeal to upscale farmers, landowner, ranch owner, rather than somebody who rode horses. So in a way, this is a gentleman's knife, and this is a borderline gentleman's knife. But I think it is. I think the way this knife is designed makes it that. Here's a okay. We'll talk about that in a minute. So on this knife, you have some radical colors in there, but it's still, you have dark colors mostly. And I think this could be, if you're going to do something like this with colors, I think you have to mix it in with a silver gray or black color. And Barnabas, I'm filming, buddy. Go away. So, I think this could be considered a gentleman's knife, but this would be on the outside. I don't think everybody would carry a knife like this, but it could be considered a gentleman's knife. So I hope that helps you out. What is a gentleman's knife? Um, Here's a large folder, and it has just great engraving. Some gentlemen's knives were engraved. I don't think many people would have carried a knife like this. This is more ostentatious. So a gambler would carry this. Maybe Jim Bowie, he's a businessman. He owns properties. He's starting businesses. He's affluent, but he's also on the crazy side. And so this is more of a knife that a more risque type of person might carry. If you were going to have an engraven, it would be like this, subdued. You have a grapevine here engraved into the knife, smooth horn. There's an elegance to this knife that even though this is a huge knife, by the way. This is a big knife. It's a dirk, but I think it's something a gentleman would carry, and something like this would doesn't mean the person speaks more of, hey, I got a lot of money. You're trying to tell somebody, hey, this engraving is expensive, it's in silver, I've got a lot of money, and more like a gambler type of person than actually a gentleman. So I hope that helps you out a little bit. I hope I didn't confuse you. Basically, a gentleman's knife is elegant, is the way to describe it. Of elegant, smooth design. Look at those blue spacers in there. Isn't that cool? Ivory, horn. If it's going to be wood, it would probably be ebony or a very attractive wood like cocobolo in there. And even modern folders. You see a lot of modern folders in this elegant line here. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Remember, you'll know the truth. The truth will set you free. And I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe, comment, like something, so the algorithms will put me up there. And have a great day, guys. I really, really appreciate you.